Karibu. Karibu sana. This is Politics Today. Hapa tunachapa siasa. How was your week? Where? Nicholas.
Yes, John.
You are not a visitor here.
Yeah, of course.
Hey.
Yeah.
In the studio, we have one Nicholas Oyo.
Yeah, thank you.
Founder, Free Kenya.
Yes, Secretary General.
Secretary General. Okay.
Activist.
But wewe unanipea high five. Come on.
Nimekupatia.
Yes. And then we have another Nicholas.
Wow.
Come on, Nicholas Walaga. Professor, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Jerry. This is a great day. At least you're meeting two Nicholas
In the studio.
very,
The
very
Nicholas
nice.
is taken off.
Yeah. You're Nicholas Walaga.
Yes, I'm Nicholas Olaga.
Souls Africa.
Souls for African Child, Souls Africa it is Foundation.
You're the founder.
I'm the founder and the director of it.
And also a lecturer at
Riara
University.
Right.
International Relations?
Yes, the Department of International Relations.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Viewers, let me encourage you to give us your views. Just make sure you share with us your views. By the way, big up to all our fans. Let me point out just one of them here. Terry, Minimart, Garden Estate. You told me I make sure I give you some thumbs up. So I've done it. And many other fans. Keep following, keep sharing. Give us your views wherever you are in any part of this country. Let us talk about the state of our country. Our sign language interpreter today, Gideon Minor. Now, where do I begin? Nicholas, hey, we have a lot of things to talk.
It's a lot.
There's so much happening in the international arena, so much in the local arena. Hata sijui nianzie wapi, but let's start from far because ya nyumbani ya nyumbani ni moto.
Yeah, nyumbani imekuwa moto.
Professor, what's happening in Sudan? What's happening in Ukraine? What's happening all over? Kindly.
I'm telling you, geographically, they talk about Sudan.
Yes.
It will be the biggest geographically country in Africa.
Right.
And then something happened. And so when we thought now that was a way of bringing peace in the Horn of Africa, we did not really take care of it somehow. Because now what has been happening in Somalia and what was been happening in Ethiopia,
Right.
and all that crossed. So we thought that a lot of lessons have been learned and guns must be silenced. And then what is happening in Sudan today is very unfortunate.
Right.
But then one would say is not completely about the Sudanese people. Then there must be a lot of dimensions around it. And then, as it has always been known, what is it that's exactly in Sudan that may make it so kind of attractive to other kind of actors?
Right.
And we realize that Sudan has something. Just like Congo, which has never seen peace all the years, even from what we call independence.
Yeah.
Congo has something. Actually, some talk about Congo being the bank of God. Because every resource that you talk about in this world, you will find it in Congo.
That's right.
But then you realize that's a country that has never seen peace. Has never seen peace completely.
Hold that thought there,
Right.
Professor.
Bank of
Let me
God.
ask you a question, Nicholas.
Yes.
Did you see Honorable Uhuru taking a trip to Congo?
Yes, he did. And even
What?
Kenya, we got involved in Congo now.
Right.
We've sent troops there. And now it means that apparently, from what the professor will tell me,
Yeah.
but for me it looks like other international groups have started withdrawing there to allow the locals to do what needs to be done in Congo. And you know what he's talking about, the thing that exists there, so that it can now be given to them. I don't know if that is the case, because the French seem to have...
Yeah, there was this
Taken
thought
off.
about the locals saying, Monique, is that the UN forces? It's like they have been there for too long.
Yeah, it's I don't understand. Since that time,
Yes.
Congo has had that problem, and I think the professor can tell us what's been going on here.
Yes.
Because it looks like everybody wants something from the Bank of God.
Yes. But then that's the sad story of Africa.
It's a sad story.
Yeah,
It's a sad story,
it's
John.
like our riches. I'm playing away from the word curse because we had a very, when you're talking of names like, was it Lumumba?
Yeah,
It's
Patrice
Lumumba,
Lumumba,
Yes, and this other gentleman down there in Burkina Faso, what was his name?
Thomas Sankara.
Yes, Sankara, and many other great
Nkrumah's.
people.
You can never
they
forget
were ones.
Gaddafi.
Gaddafi.
Yes,
Libya.
Yeah.
people who are doing the right things,
Yes. Then suddenly,
frustrated. Is it that there is a hand behind some of the troubles in Africa, Professor?
Oh.
Is it true that the West?
let me dig deeper and perhaps
Because I was
Professor is here
confronted
today.
by a Congolese actually, and he was telling me that Monique, they are earning so much salaries, and we are not at peace. They withdraw in cases of conflict. Is that so? Is it true?
Jonah, let me talk about the story of Congo. Perhaps it will
Right.
maybe get the rest of Africa learning from that. The partition of Africa itself, as has been known in the 1884, 1885, was as a result of Congo. Some historians have called it the Congo Wars. It was about what we call our visitors into the continent, trying to make a peace with themselves, such that they will not kind of look bad before what people would describe as savages. People would call African and from a context of backward people. So they didn't want to display the bad manners. What did they do then? They decided that let's go have a conference, what we call the partition of Africa. And then we divide Africa among ourselves and find where Kenya can go, where Uganda will go, where is it Ethiopia, and all these borders were made from a point that local communities never knew completely about. And then from there it started. And what was it about? The resources in Congo. The resources in Congo became so attractive for Europe.
I'm told there is something in the mobile phone
Oh yes.
all over the
Cobalt.
world
Oh yes.
that only comes from
It
Congo.
is.
Cobalt. It is really unfortunate, Jonah.
Yes.
You know, Congo even has uranium. I think you know this. Congo has, like he's saying, it's a bank of God.
It's a bank of
It's
God.
everything you'd get there.
Right.
And so it looks like everybody wants some piece of that. Maybe it should have been the partition of Congo, as we should have let us
It's still about the
about
partition
less of
exactly.
Africa.
Tell me something about Sudan.
Now
Bef-
we are
be-
bringing
be-
it there.
Yeah, tell me something about Sudan, Nicholas. Tell me, who is fighting? Do you know the names behind it?
Yeah, there's Mohammed Haftar, who is basically the in the side of the army,
Right.
and there is the other side that is the paramilitary, led by, I remember the name, but these are people who basically, it's a scenario whereby somebody says that you get into leadership,
Right.
and then you start creating paramilitaries. So when you create a paramilitary, what happens? The paramilitary now begins to have leadership. They want to get resources and what have you, and then they start fighting. Because now, where do you take paramilitaries? And this is something that has been happening across Africa.
So
a leader comes in, and instead of relying on the army,
Yes.
you look for a paramilitary.
So
And
this
paramilitary
came
now
out
begins-
of the revolution?
even before the revolution.
Okay.
We had a paramilitary by the guy who left, who was removed, Nani. This the famous Sudanese leader. I'm forgetting the name.
Talk about Janjaweeds and then
No,
No, before Janjaweed.
Yes,
The one who was toppled before this revolution came.
Yeah, you are allowed to Google.
I think he will look at it.
Yes.
But
Let's talk about Bashir or something.
yeah,
Yes,
Bashir.
you're
Yes,
talking
thank you.
about
Bashir.
Al-Bashir.
Al-Bashir.
Yeah.
When Al-Bashir
Yeah,
was there,
yeah,
he had a
yeah. Okay,
paramilitary.
actually, hiyo sio mdomo yetu.
Al-Bashir.
So it's allowed to forget it for
So
a minute.
Al-Bashir
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
paramilitary. And
Yes.
this paramilitary is the one that now has started fighting the army.
Right.
And that happens in Africa. You go into leadership, and instead of being protected by the army,
Yes.
and maybe those kind of special forces who are within the army and everything, you get someone else to basically protect you. And when now you leave, they have to look for something to do. And
Is it an issue of trust? Is it that our leaders, African leaders, once you're in leadership, you just don't trust anybody?
It is very clear. I mean, look at the way in every country, every time new leadership comes in, people have to go, others have to be brought in. I'm only thankful that in Kenya right now we have something of some semblance of some institutional engagement that is happening with the army. But most of Africa, you will find this problem there. That you get into leadership, you want to be protected by people you believe, you trust more. And that's what always causes problems. Because after these people want something, what are you going to give them? If you go, they remain there to now cause problems.
So now you are talking of this group. What did you call that group?
The paramilitary.
No. There is a name you used before the paramilitary. The other group of the name you mentioned.
Talking about the Janjaweeds, not
No.
Janjaweeds,
There's a name you mentioned of the leader of the other group.
Nani?
Was it Mohammed somebody?
Mohammed
Al-Bassem.
No, Mohammed Bagat. It's called Bagat.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
Bagat,
leader of
Bagat.
that. Yes.
Yeah, Mohammed.
So there is someone who left leadership. And
This
now,
is Al-Bashir left leadership.
yes,
He had paramilitaries
right.
to protect him because he didn't trust the army. The army is there, but then he looks for a special team
Yes.
to protect him.
Yes.
Now, when he leaves, this team remains in place.
Right.
So what happens? This team looks for power.
Okay. So is there something about? So these two groups are basically fighting for what?
For leadership. I mean, this
Okay.
this thing has been a problem.
So
because
is
you
it that there was a conmanship of the revolution? Which group led the revolution? Which
see,
is the
and
side?
I think we've discussed this before, and Professor
Let's
is here.
yes.
I don't believe
here.
that revolutions really are revolutions as you call them. Even the one in Sudan. Even we talked about the 2002,
Yes.
which you are saying is a ballot revolution for Kenya. We saw what happened in 6 months. I mean, people started throwing off and on here and there, and revolutions in Africa are really not really what we call revolution. Professor Mim.
Yes.
I
Yes,
think
Prof.
whatever is happening today in Sudan, it's a clerical call for the rest of us who have been trying to entertain what you call the local militia groups.
Okay.
Because then, for how long can you entertain them? How long can you soothe them to the point that they feel that they are legitimate enough, and of course, take from the proceeds of the state?
Right.
Because you realize that this group, at some point, it was promised that we will get into power, and then after getting the power, then there's a way now we are going to absorb you into the mainstream military.
Okay.
Then they waited upon this, and then what happened is that it took too long. And then there was a kind of a demarcation of the real military people who are recognized by the state, and then now the paramilitary, which for some level it looked like for how long are you going to wait for this before we are recognized by the state, and of course by our peers that we are also within protecting the state.
So, Prof,
Yes.
sorry for wanting to understand this
Right.
more.
Yeah.
But so this is not a case of the Mwananchi in Sudan
Not at all.
calling for. So this is a military to military issue.
military
Military
intervention, and as Prof told you, it might even have dimensions beyond Sudan.
Okay, go on,
Yes,
Prof.
young man.
Go on, Prof.
And
Yes.
you have heard even in our country where we have heard about militia groups. They have all manner of names. Is it Chinkororo? Is it the Mungiki? Is it we talk about the Al Shabaab? We talk about the
Back in
Baghdad
Trans-Zoya.
boys and all this
Back in
manner of them.
Trans-Zoya, we had this about land defense
Yes.
forces. Yes,
They have all manner of names.
right.
And at some points, they have been kind of being used by politicians of the day to achieve some ends. But then you realize that after that this has happened, how do you then, after you've taken care of the elections, then what happens? Where are they absorbed? then you find that maybe the kind of leadership of the day may not be able to attend them for so long, and then it becomes now the enemy of the day.
Okay.
And this is what's happening.
Now the question of the paramilitaries and what have you, those are armed people.
Yeah.
In our case here in the local politics, you get people who basically are in the president's party. You've seen the appointments, the way they are going.
Yeah.
It's a reward. CASs, who are those? It's a reward to some people.
Yeah.
If they were in arms, they would have taken arms. But now, since there are rewards in office, and that's why we are getting problems, we are asking ourselves, the government wants taxes, it says it doesn't have money, and yet the employments are not showing that. I mean, you are continuing to expand government, and you're saying you want money.
Okay, now that you've mentioned that, Aden Duale launched a book. You've heard of it?
Yeah.
He's actually launched a book. While explaining about that launch, he made a joke about him and the President Ruto taking some gifts to a fellow pastoralist, Uhuru Kenyatta, of sheep. And that reminds me that when those sheep were attacked, this group had pangas and all that. Is it a militia group that was armed? Are you talking of in Kenya we have such groups?
We have as you say, the Chinkoros and what have you have been armed before, but of course they didn't go as far as get to the fight where they're fighting the state. That's what didn't happen.
So we are lucky because our
we are lucky
country
because
has monopoly of violence.
We are very lucky because of that. We are very
lucky.
And you saw what happened in when they confronted the defense force, the land defense force in Trans Nzoia, and it almost became a problem. And even now we are having problems in the north and the north.
Now, Professor, does it mean that when you look at the issue of banditry in the north, and I'm aware of your engagement, on issues of humanitarian issues in the likes of the arid areas, which I'm also keen on, by the way. I'm aware that you've been involved somehow. What is the issue there, that banditry? Are we standing at a danger, Why is it that this problem is lingering for so long? We are having the interagency there, but we've heard of cases. Even the former speaker, Ole Kaparo, his camels were stolen when the military was there. What's happening? Are we standing at a danger of such militia groups?
John, you've heard of the time of exporting experts, and where you don't involve the local stakeholders in a matter that touches on their lives, like what you're seeing in the North Rift.
Yes.
We have the aspect of culture. What has been known in the North Rift, what happens when a man grows of age, then they're supposed to pay some dowry. What's required of them? They'll go to the neighboring community and go raid cows, and for that, they're able to become a man enough to be able to have a wife. And it used to happen in terms of spears and arrows in old days. But then, of recent days, it has become sophisticated, where now the guns are involved. And so it becomes a matter of national security.
Yeah, they used to kill lions, and then KWS came in.
Yes, right. And so as this is happening, by so exporting experts to go and find out what is happening is it in Baringo, is it in East Pokot, is it in Samburu and in Elgeyo Marakwet, and all as you get the Kerio Valley.
Right.
It is unfortunate that we are not involving the local stakeholders. We are not finding out the source of this conflict. We go there, as you call it, the monopoly of violence, and you say, now we will take care of this place. We'll create some kind of no going out hours at this time and such.
The curfew.
It does not really work, because it may be for a week or two, but then you've not found the source.
Yeah, actually, one local was caught complaining that they are hearing bombs, but they are seeing thieves carrying their animals. Where are these bombs hitting? They hear, they were not sleeping, but in the morning you wake up, there are no animals.
And Jonah, now if you go to the problem, and then
Yes.
it now becomes a corruption now comes in, and there are
Yeah.
people who basically use that route
Yeah.
to get this cattle to come and sell in the markets, and these are some of the things that are now continuing there.
Sure.
So really, the fight that is going on there, really, somebody needs to get down
To get to the root
to
cause.
understand the root cause,
Get the
to understand how you can give alternative rites of passage. I think we had a case where one of our athletes was pushing for Tekla Lorupe,
Yeah.
was pushing for alternative rites of passage for women, for girls.
Okay.
And we may need to consider those kinds of things.
Okay. Professor Kithure Kindiki, one of the most level-headed, in my opinion,
Internal
leaders
security.
we have within the government. Am I right, Prof?
He is a good
I will
man.
agree
I've
with
been
that,
able to privilege to work with him at the Senate.
Right.
I know he is a good man. Of course, I mean, all from the days where he was a scholar in the universities and to the point
Right.
where he became the senator, and then afterwards now he's been privileged with a good docket. He is a good man. But then I insist, there must be a sense in which you work with the local stakeholders. You work with the local communities, not at a point of giving instructions. You must be able to bring them to the table. What
Right.
is it that they're lacking? What is it that has made them to be their neighbors' enemies? Because left on their own, there's a way in which you realize they're good neighbors.
Yeah.
They are just
No.
good neighbors.
I listened to one gentleman from Kitale town. That's in Trans Nzoia. The way this man was explaining the Ngorokos. Ngorokos are within Turkana. Yes.
Yes.
You could almost feel like he was passionate, proud
I've been to,
of the way Ngorokos can hide in the sun.
and you can't see them. I've been,
You know.
I've been to Baragoi, and if you go to Baragoi, Jonah,
Yes.
there is a road there, and and they were telling us that that is Turkana, this is Samburu.
Right.
Lest you shoot a bullet in one of these, war begins. Because you see, the setup is that there is a lot of suspicion among these communities. There's this tension that has been risen to a level where it's almost something that just wants to blow up. And you
Right.
see, those are things that we must find ways of dealing with. These are communities that have existed with each other.
Right.
I don't think there were those fights before. Even if they had a way of doing these things, we need to know how they used to exist and coexist, because they've not moved away from each other. When there used to be war in the south of Africa, you found people running away from Shaka Zulu. That meant that if there was a problem, they
Right.
would have ran off or something like that. Somebody would have moved away. The fact that they've stayed there
Right.
all that time means that they used to coexist. And
So-
we must find out how they coexisted.
Are we in a situation where now we are having egos? As you're putting it, these long-term rivalries over time, can we rightly say that probably these people are having egos? This is Pokot. When we are having any clashes, nobody beats us. Then the Ngorokos, nobody beats us. Then now you find over time, it's almost like AFC and Gor Mahia, or should I say Arsenal and Man U, for lack of a better one.
you've
So
come-
it's like
and
a
you've come-
sport.
And you've come to the right point, Jonah. If you're talking of alternative rites of passage,
Yeah.
why then do they channel that tension and fight and what have you to then sports activities? Let them run there, let them do something else. There's a lot of things that can be done in the North Rift to
Right.
deal with some of these issues.
Right.
Give them medals, give people victory, so that somebody can say it is. Let them create West Pokot FC and Samburu FC, then we see them.
Yeah.
Maybe these
Yeah.
are things we can explore.
And right there, Professor,
Yes.
what do you think would be the permanent solution? Are you seeing us bringing in development in these areas? What do you think should be the permanent fixer? Because the Professor, Kithure, says they are working on a big plan that will settle this problem once and for all. But the issue is, the problem is lingering on.
And you brought it so well that you're working on a big plan.
Yeah.
Because it always begins from the word policies. Who are responsible for making these policies, the frameworks? And then who is then going to fund such policies? In Riara, I teach one of those units called regional integration. And recently we discovered that what we call East Africa Community is more than 50% funded by donors. You get that then the local membership are struggling to take care of the 50% into all the programs that are going to happen within East Africa Community. And so you narrow it down. You narrow it down to our policies here at home. When we talk of those good frameworks, good policies, who is going to fund them? Because then the person who is going to fund them will determine the hand side of what's going to happen.
The paper calls it you.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you believe in the gentleman to really settle that problem once and for all? Do you feel he has the...
I think...
Are you seeing this problem ending with Kithure?
He may come out with gold policies, right?
Yes.
But then at some point, as I was saying,
yes,
the experts will be required. And who are the experts? Who will tell you then what's supposed to be happening in North Rift? Because those experts, you realize that the guys who are going to fund those policies, they may not know the exact source of war and the cause of war and all the history about it. And so they will come with an agenda that does not really relate with the dictates of the locals.
And the people.
You remember the Sabah Land Defense Forces issue? Can you agree with me that that problem was settled once and for all? But then there was a lot of malpractices, people being thrown from helicopters and all that. But it is said that once the KDF left that place, SLDF was no more.
It is unfortunate to say that war is an industry. And as you begin it from even the local place,
right,
go internationally,
right,
war is a big industry. It's unfortunate those who fund conflict, those who fund wars, that they are doing this not seeing the sense of humanity. I'm a humanitarian, as you have said it so well.
Right.
I've been doing a lot in Baringo. I've been doing a lot at the coast. That's in the Tana River, and of course, Mombasa as it is. I've been doing a lot, but then you look at it. What's the human aspect of all our engagements? You fund this kind of wars. You fund this kind of conflict. But to whose benefit at the end of the day? Because here we are talking of Sudan, exactly.
Yeah.
We are now talking locally in the North Rift. When you're funding this, at the end of the day,
I thought we had little things to talk internationally. Let's go for a break and come and talk about local issues. That's a mouthful for international issues. And I have excellent guests. Nicholas Oyo, the activist, SG, Free Kenya, and Mr. Professor Nicholas Walaga. I call you Professor Kwachi.
Your baptism I did today is a bad thing. Walaga.
Nicholas Walaga, South Africa founder and also lecturer, international relations, by the way, Riara University.
Right.
Now, I want us to talk about something here. Just before we went for the break, we had started talking about what's happening in the north, and we were asking ourselves this question: is our minister, our CS, Mr. is he professor?
Kithure.
Is he professor?
Yes,
or doctor?
yes.
Yeah, Kithure Kindiki, able to settle that problem once and for all? And it brings up a question: what is the state of our CSs? Can they match the challenge that we have? By the way, there was a time when we had a certain David Mwiraria in finance. You remember that?
Oh, yes.
And in planning, we had one weekly for Paranya. That was a team and a half.
That was a team and a half.
They turned around this economy like
and
nobody's
Jonah,
business.
I would say that the CS Kithure Kindiki is one of the best you'll see
Right.
at this point in time. He has been in the processes. He has
Right.
been in university, academia. He knows how to deal with some of these things. I would say that he's one of the people you can say that you trust in this. He's one of those internal security ministers I've seen that I can say there's been many, of course, in that docket. But
Right.
he's also one of those who I say can be on top there. But now he has to involve himself. Let him apply himself, as we know him. Kithure Kindiki, the person.
Okay. And the team that is working around him, obviously.
There is work to do, and I think if he's in the leadership, then he should drive the team towards achieving,
Okay.
in my view.
Do you know the name of the former DCI boss?
Yeah,
What was his name?
this was the one who was
During Uhuru Kenyatta's time.
who was removed.
Yes.
The
Yes.
name was,
Yes, the Inspector General.
Yeah, the issue that we have to deal with, Jonah, is that
Yes.
if you have a scenario where you are removing people,
Yes.
and they have to basically say that they resigned, and then you hear stories behind you, there is a lot of questions in the way we have managed to change some of these positions,
Right.
which has brought us to a scenario where you get people who have come in,
Yeah.
and they have been brought in a way that is a lot of here and there. But we expect them to do the job if they have been given
Yeah.
this work.
By the way, Matiang'i was there also.
Yeah, Matiang'i was
Working
also
with,
there.
with that whole group.
The team that we have had in internal security
Yes.
has been a team that is qualified most of the time, I believe.
Okay.
And now the question that we have to do is that we have a CS who I believe can do the job.
Yeah.
And let's see him take charge and ensure that this is done.
Okay.
Yes.
At what stage did we have Joseph? Was it Joseph Boynet? Is that
Boynet
the-
was there just when Kibaki came in.
Yes.
And he did a good, marvelous job. We can say he did do his work very well.
Okay.
That was in NIS before. No, there was police, and then he came to NIS at some point.
Okay.
So we really have had these people coming in. We've seen how the transition has happened in the army.
Okay.
Very, very professional.
Okay.
And we hope that this is what we'll adopt as a country. Do
Yeah.
professional things if you want to remove people, let it be professionally. A lot of these people who have been removed, we've had a lot of problems that it looks like somebody decided to cut your term in office, which is not fair.
Okay. Now,
That's
our CSAs and our cabinet secretaries
Right.
and our principal secretaries,
Right.
do you feel this team can match the economic problems we are having currently?
Yes, it can. It can, because one thing, you look at it, do you have the institutions? Yes, we have the institutions. There's no much of what we say now in the last dispensation. We had a different ministry from
But
what
it-
we have currently.
One second. Do you have your phone here?
Yeah.
You're allowed to Google the name of the former DCI boss. Google that as Professor is yes.
So
On
what
TV.
we must therefore
Yes.
understand is that we have the institutions, but there's something called institutionalism.
Yes.
All right, because you can have a number of institutions. You call them ministries, you call them departments, but then without proper funding, without proper policies, and
Right.
the implementation of such policies, they will only remain a burden to the society, to the state, because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
they have to take something home. They have to get their salaries. So one thing, therefore, that must be made is that no ministry can work in isolation.
Right.
We have the Ministry of School of Internal Security, has been vibrant from the days, of course, as even the most recent, Dr. Matiang'i
Right.
did so well, but then we not want to fit Professor Kithure Kindiki in the same docket, because he has also his own ways of how he's going to run this, going to the future.
Yeah.
But of course, as humankind, there's a way in which you want to look at the past and make comparison that it used to be like this. Why can't it go in these same formulas? And I think that's why we get it wrong.
Right.
Kithure Kindiki has come in. He has his own ways of running it, and let us give him the time.
We are seeing some genius here, or can I call it some good work from some of them, or is it a good number of them? I'm seeing a lot in the sports. Ababu Namwamba, he looks to be trying to really do so much.
It's a ministry.
And that whole team.
It's a ministry that Ababu has been even before.
Right.
Before even this being appointed again. That's his second reign in that ministry. But then we want to see outcomes. We don't want to see movement of furnitures, Jonah. We want to see outcomes. We want to see outcomes. We've seen Kenyan teams performing. We've seen our athletes do very well. Where's our football? You know, Jonah, we've had a lot of success in sports. We've done it in cricket. We've done it in rugby. We've done it in boxing before. We've had our football team get to a point where we got into the final of one of those continental cups that we hosted here. We've had in basketball, volleyball, you name it. The question is, why are we not seeing this now coming back? Why are we've even had now a runner who is now considered one of the top 10 in the world in short distances. We've not had that before. So really, I hope that what we are seeing in the sports ministry is not just movement of furniture. We want to see outcomes.
And we have the likes of Eliud Ewalo.
Yeah.
That's the Minister of ICT now.
Yes.
And of which, of course, I will want to talk about more.
Yeah, I think maybe...
Come on, move
you
on.
look at that today, you look at Kenya from an angle that is the high city hub in the whole region. All right?
Right.
And people will want to take that, what we call the comparative advantage, as it is. That Kenya is being ranked among the highest when you talk about the east and central region. This is a high city hub. But then, how do we celebrate those who have achieved it, or those that have this kind of talent? You remember, it is this country that we had this young man of those days who came out with the M-Pesa. And I can tell you that for free today, even among the students, if you try to inquire from them, do you know his name? Very few may be generous enough to tell you they know that kind of person, whether it's a Kenyan or it's someone else. And this is the tragedy, that we kind of don't celebrate what we have. We don't kind of recognize those that we have, because you have expected such kind of expertise that are being absorbed in ministries, are being absorbed in some kind of vital sectors where that people are qualified. But what do? You kind of humiliate them financially. Somehow they are bankrupt. I don't know where this guy could be on Dieki. He is known as the guy who came out with the M-Pesa. He's been battling the court cases on how about his patent with the Safaricom. But that kind of a human being today will have been having a kind of an institution of ICT where we have him trying to bring up new brains in the matters to do with the ICT. And then there will be more other hubs that will be formed. There will be more kind of innovation that will come up.
But for your information, there's been a big ICT meeting somewhere in Mombasa.
The one it happened, I think, almost a month ago.
Yes.
And this, I like the way that you're moving with ICT.
Right.
I like the way that you're moving with some of these technologies.
Right.
But as he's saying, again, we are losing out on the people who should help. Owalo is one of the best, I would say. But then we have had people who can do, people like Shemo Chodo went and helped the entire Rwanda. And you had Rwanda even state that it's going to lead Africa in ICT.
Yes.
Because of people who are Kenyan.
Okay.
They're not using them.
I hear you.
The question has to be, why is it that the people who can do the best are always kept aside? Remember our assistant minister for environment was who? Professor Wangari Maathai. This would have been in any, if you were to form a government in this globe, she would be the minister for environment.
That's true.
Not an assistant.
I'm just shying away from asking you this question, but let me ask you, since you're here, Nicholas, are you seeing some semblance of marginalization in the appointments?
Jonah, it's not the first time that this happens, but then it becomes worse when you see a situation where it looks like in every appointment. We had the deputy president speak, and he said that this is a shareholding, and the shareholders must enjoy it first. There are so many, we are not going to deny that they will feel everything if they have to, which is very unfortunate, Jonah. Because when you go into leadership, then you now don't look at who took you there. Not really. You need to start considering the professionalism of the people who can do the job.
Okay.
Because you have to deliver. Even for those people who are your supporters, they must enjoy the state. They cannot enjoy the state if you get people who are inferior and put them in jobs just because they happen to come from a certain
It's like a reward,
extraction
you say?
that you come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
reward
yeah.
because
Yeah, yeah.
the way
The
it's
deputy
looked
president mentioned it and said it's like a shareholding. But when he was asked, he said, "No, I didn't say it's a company. I said it's like a company." Professor,
Sure.
Let me ask you a question before you give your thought.
Yes.
Before you give your thought,
Right.
Professor Njuguna Ndungu.
A good man.
Yes,
A
is
good
that the?
He is in the right docket.
Finance.
It's the finance.
Come on, say something about
Is.
that.
I'm telling you, talk about today the group we have that in the cabinet, then you'll have the finance docket. One person is very much well qualified to run it so well.
But then how did he perform in Central Bank?
And of course, during his time, you remember how it was. And of course, now we are having the one who is retiring very soon. The guy of Opus Dei is a very good man. A good man, I'm telling you. And that's why I was speaking of that we don't look at ministries in isolation. All right? The Ministry of Finance, as it is, cannot run on its own without all other supports. We have the public service. Who is in the public service? And
Felix Kosgei.
You will realize that some other
Is
people
it-
who
is
may be questioned in terms of their expertise or their skills in those areas.
Okay.
But then that's
Sorry,
for another day.
were you talking about public service in general or the head of the
yes.
civil
But
service?
we don't want to mention names, Jonah.
Okay.
What I'm only trying to put across here is that let ministries not run in isolation. And so long as you have Kenyans who have the expertise, what you need is like, do you have the skills? We not much care what kind of regions you come from. But it's like whatever docket you are given, are you able to run it? Because as you run it, it is going to have all kind of impact, or it is going to influence so many areas within the country on how you run it.
I want to join two questions.
Yes.
And the first one I will ask may be a rhetoric. Do you feel this team is able to bring this country out of its debt crisis? That's a rhetoric. And then I want to proceed. Okay, come on,
I would
move
answer
on.
that.
I meant it to be a rhetoric, but
I want to state that
Yes.
as he said, it's an entire team that we are talking about. Look at the judiciary,
right.
look at the parliament, look at the county assemblies, and then now look at the executive. This entire government structure in this country. First of all, I'll tell you for free. This is me saying that I feel that parliament leaves a lot to be desired. And I hope that they will improve.
I'm glad you said that's your opinion.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
I feel parliament and by extension some of the county assemblies may leave a lot to be desired.
Right.
But then when you come to the executive and the judiciary, Martha Koome is a distinguished lawyer in this country, a jurist in this country you cannot say that does not understand everything about what needs to be done. She should be able to make a very good Chief Justice and maybe help the judiciary to come forward. But then you go back and look at some of the cases that we've seen in the last few, say 1 or 2 years now, and you begin to feel like there is something that has really started going somewhere. And we hope that they improve whatever happens. I don't want to get deep into it, but then I feel that the judiciary needs to pull its socks up.
Okay.
I want to talk about the parliament needs to pull its socks up.
That's okay.
The executive must pull its socks up.
Okay. Yeah, I would still insist that was a rhetoric. By the way, did you Google the name of the former DCI?
No, I didn't find the name. My friend.
Now I will ask our viewers here to save us because it's a name that is in my mind. It's just here, but it comes and goes.
Yeah.
Kinoti.
Kinoti. Yes.
That's the name. Yes. Those are people who did a good job.
Yeah, Kinoti even promoted. Eventually, we even got the what you call these issues of testing DNA and what have you, this
Yeah.
kind of forensic engagements, we inaugurated that when Kinoti was there.
His first name was George.
George Kinoti, yeah.
Yes,
But then
George
the
Kinoti.
question that we must ask ourselves,
Yes.
what are these things being used for right now? Because you see, even when you see the Shakahola cases, you need
right.
DNA to do the testing and what have you.
Right.
If you are looking at a crime scene, John, and I think you've, if you've seen any issue about crime scene,
Yes.
you need experts to get into the crime scene and take the evidence, and that must be processed in the forensic labs for you to be able to put somebody to account. So really, we expect that these are coming into place now because crimes that are happening, you need to be able to tell from a number of people that this was the person who committed the crime. Because we have this evidence. This evidence is forensic evidence.
Now, how comes this escaped the intelligence? Kenyan intelligence service is very informed.
Very.
Nothing literally happened.
Very
How can
informed.
such a thing happen without the
Very informed.
intelligence service knowing? Is it possible that they knew about this?
Very informed, and of course, if you're saying this so well, there's a lot of good things that are happening in this country that perhaps we are not aware of. And there is a way in which the media, of course, can always, in the name of get good proceeds from what they hear, must find it right by, of course, when it bleeds, it leads.
It leads, yeah.
All right?
Yes. Right.
So we talk about the Sakahola menace as it is, and it has covered all other good things that could be happening in this country. It's very unfortunate. Just the other day, the statistics came out about people, Kenyans who applied to have the green card, and those were 30 million people.
What?
30 million people, that means more than half of us
Wanted
wanted to leave this country, wanted to escape. Because what you are hearing, it is all the bad and the ugly about this country. You are not told about those are the good things. Because you both tried. When it comes to matters of intelligence, all right,
Right.
then this country is recognized.
So-
Almost
so-
continentally, in
so
how they can be able, people can be able to.
So the question we ask ourselves, and Jonah, maybe this is had to do with some political coalition and what have you, because
Right.
Shakahola, and as he's saying, we have one of the best military, one of the best intelligence
services.
across this region,
Yeah.
and really something like that should have really ticked intelligence. So you begin to ask yourself, how did it happen that we are shocked? That is just some kids who basically came and that story started from there. It's very unfortunate that this is the kind of thing that you see that happened just because it looked like by coincidence. I hope it's not coincidence, but it looks like it was just coincidence for us to have found out that there's something going on.
Now,
and even the other day I heard that they've just dug another mass grave in another place again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. This is
Now, Professor, is there a danger here that because of this one incident, by the way, Honorable Raila met with the good pastor Ezekiel Odero? Yeah. So, is there a danger that we may have, religion stifled because of these incidents in the North Coast?
Do you know what's happening in these countries? It's very, very unfortunate because we have been known to be one of the most religious countries, of course, not only the continent, of course, across the world.
Yeah.
And of course, from the sense of being religious,
I hope you are not talking about Jehovah Wanyonyi and
No,
yes,
the Wanyonyis are in their own league, and those who pray well, continue praying for them.
Okay.
All right. But of course, we talk about diversity of thoughts. We give room to people to think and imagine how life should be.
Okay.
And so we talk of Kenya in matter of religion and whatever has been happening currently. It is unfortunate because what you believe is you bring kids from a point of some values and some morals, and the church and the mosque has been on the forefront of trying to help the state to bring people up from a point in which you don't see a generation that has no morals, no values at all. This has been very good for us. But then if we don't take steps to take away such kind of individuals or groupings who may be so much excited excited in what people have called the Jesus industry, then we may lose it.
Right.
Because what will end up having people who will never be interested into going to the mosque or going to the church. And you know what happened in the West when such kind of things happen. In Russia, they turned churches into kind of museums. It's no longer stylish. Maybe if you go to Scandinavian countries to look for a church or such. And you know what has been happening there.
Now, Nicholas, Oyo, now you're both Nicholas.
Oh,
so let me ask you. Some of the followers of Pastor Ezekiel are saying their pastor is being frustrated, persecuted, because he has a lot of money. You know, they give, and the man is doing in billions, and that's why they are frustrating him. How true is that in your opinion?
In my opinion, they might have a point, but then the question that is there is that why should it be about money, Jonah? This is about religion. I had hoped that religious engagements, the traditional one I knew, was that the churches used to help. The church in my community used to be the church that basically gives us like the grounding in that community. So if you want any information, if you want any help, if you want anything, it was the church that used to be the place that you go to, the institution that you run to. You saw even when the post-election happened, people ran into the church. So the question has been that now the church has become the focus of money. And this is one thing that we really need to ask ourselves. Why is it now that it has become attractive to have money? And the problem comes in when you see cases where the pastor or the bishop or who have you drives in a very luxurious car, and the people who are coming to that church, some of you don't even have bus fare to come to church.
You're talking of cars. These people have choppers. Professor. Yes. We are on level of choppers.
I'm lost.
And there is nothing wrong with that.
Is
there anything wrong
at all?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong at all.
We have church institutions with helipads, including the one of Pastor Ezekiel.
Yes.
In fact, the lawyer, Dunstan Omari, when he was talking, he said, this is a case of jealousy. In less than 1 year, since January, they have built a helipad, they have built a palatial home, they have built I don't know what and what. So the politicians are actually jealous of the man. And that is the case. The case is a case of jealousy. That is the case they are putting across.
It is biblical. Of course, I'm a reader of the Holy Books, and we are told of Solomon, we have told of Abraham, and we have told of David and such in that league. These were rich people who served their God, and of course, others may want to follow into that kind of a arena that this matriarchs used to be rich, and you also want to be. But now the question is, what agenda are you trying to bring up as you try to accumulate or have all these kind of trappings of life? We are not questioning over how much you have and how much you want to have, but how is it to the expense of the poor human beings who may not understand where you are leading them to? Are you taking advantage of the ignorant communities that it must be at all costs that you accumulate it? Or is it for the common good as you do this? Other people are also being uplifted and are being changed in the communities, are being made better. And in that case, therefore, it is not wrong to accumulate what you're accumulating. It is not wrong to have good monies. Of course, people sometimes talk of money as if it is evil, but I can tell you, in the real sense, the lack of money can be much more evil.
Now, hold that thought there. Let's talk about the lack of money being evil. The finance bill 2023 proposal.
Hey, wow.
Let's talk about it. Nicholas.
Jonah.
Taking away money from the pockets of Kenyans?
Jonah, it's very unfortunate that we are getting this problem coming in. I told you that as Free Kenya, we started this fight right from 2018 on the VAT bill. 2018 VAT bill was about putting VAT on petrol and petroleum products. Now it has come back again. Right. What we fought has come back. At that time, they agreed to put it at half of that, 8%. Now it's going to 16%. So you expect what will happen? Jonah, the question that I keep asking is this. why can't the state, why can't parliament, why can't the government sit with us and we agree on a number of things? Like us Free Kenya, we are saying, let me have my meal at least. Don't tax the food. You're taxing me to death. Don't tax the water. Let me drink water. I need water for life. Jonah, water has been given to you by rain. It is free given. Air is free given, Jonah. Why would you put tax on that? Why do you want to ensure that I can't live, John? So
No.
that the question has to be that you as a government, there are some things I agree with. By the way, I agree with some of the taxes they are doing, Jonah.
Right.
The beards, I think they are fake beards. Tax those ones. Things
Oh,
about...
they are taxing beards?
Tax those ones, Jonah.
Oh,
But they-
did I hear about cosmetics also?
tax them, Jonah.
Right.
But because those are not really things that you have to.
Right.
Jonah, it would not be that you will only marry your wife or anything just because they are well dressed. No, that's not the issue. They will wake up in the morning and you'll find the normal.
Just before I get on Professor,
Yes,
on
yes.
what he is also
Yes.
doing, he mentions what he's doing on a humanitarian ground.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you one question. Does it mean that the Kenya Kwanza government does not have the emotions of Kenyans at this time?
we are
with that
asking-
finance
It's very unfortunate.
bill
This
2023
is a
proposal?
government that was brought in by the hustlers. These are hustlers' government.
But it's the
Now it is
hustlers'
the
crime.
hustlers who are now going to pay for their government, apparently. I mean, this is very unfortunate. They should have really looked at taxation in a way that it helps Kenyans have your food, eat, be able to have health and all this stuff. Then you can now tax other things.
No, recently, David Ndii tweeted and said, give us your proposals for the budget, but ensure you tell us how you will do it without IMF and without taxing you more. Professor,
Yes,
going
just
to
a quick
say
very
something.
quickly.
I'm
up.
seeing the time is not really on our side, but let
Yeah.
me pull this just on a build up on what my name
Yeah,
can
yeah,
say.
let him wind
when
up.
you
Yeah.
talk about taxation, nothing's wrong with taxation at all. Worldwide, this has been one way of how you get internal revenue. You go to the Nordic countries or Scandinavian countries, and people are eager to even to contribute more because at the end of the day, their health care is taken care of, the education is taken care of, talk of all manner of social setup in their lives are taken care of. So they will be so quick even to say, where else do you want us to contribute? But what we are seeing back locally is the suspicion attitude that, okay, you are taxing us this, but we have known a trend that this money may not really end up doing the right thing. Are you talking about housing? This money, as you look at it, the mannerism in which it's being set up, it is not really going to benefit the person who is contributing toward the housing project.
Nicholas says,
That
we
is-
have to bring this to a stop. Nicholas Oyo, Free Kenya, Nicholas Walaga,
Souls up.
South Africa. Viewers, hapa tunachapa siasa. Our time is gone. See you next week on Politics Today. My name is Jonas Simba. Bye.
Thank you, guys.